What's up guys, this is Sean Tan and welcome to another episode of the iherng podcast. Today, again, we're going to talk about something very fun where there's indefinite answers, and these are the topics that really close to the current society, and we're going to go straight in. What's the representation of real estate to you? And the most interesting thing I realized lately, it represents the eligibility for marriage. So for my brothers out there, are you willing or can you propose to your current girlfriend without having a property? Or to my sisters out there, are you going to say yes if a man proposes to you without having a property? With the amount of mails that I'm receiving day to day, so for those who send me mail, thank you very much. I really appreciate the effort in doing so. And most of them, they're asking for opinions to whether should they buy this or buy that, right? And I always clarify, the first question is it for investment or own stay? And most of it is always about own stay. So it's their first house and they're planning to buy that house before proposing to their current girlfriend lah. So that struck a few thinking in mind, where is it really necessary for a guy to be having a property before proposing? But based on the emails I'm receiving, I think that's the norm lah. So I don't know what you guys think. So for those watching in YouTube, please do, as you guys know, I welcome all comments. Please do just put your opinions down below. As a guy, is it okay to propose without having a property? As a girl, will you say yes to a guy without him having a property? So in my case, in my circle of friends, many of them like 30 until 30, everyone is proposing after having a property, because they simply have the social norm that it's not okay if you propose to a girl, right? Then later, if she says yes, you guys get married, right? And then they move into a rental house. How are you going to form a family in a rental house? So that's the not so right mindset that I thought. However, this is not exactly accurate, because most of my friends are all staying in Klang Valley lah. So most of them, before getting married, they are actually staying with their parents. But another observation that I see is that a lot of friends that are actually from other states, such as Ipoh, Pahang, Penang, and etc., when they come to KL and they rent a place, and when they get married, both husband and wife, they continue renting, but both of them will join name and get one. So to me, I'm really very curious, because indirectly it creates a very huge burden, right, for our outstation friends. So because they are actually moving out from home to rent a place in KL already, every month 500-600 for a room, then with that they still need to save up for a property in KL. That puts them in a very difficult position. And if you really need to have a home before getting married, right, that's going to be like 32 to 35 if you're buying yourself lah. So parents, maybe sometimes they will help. On the previous episode we talked about it, right? So maybe down payment or a little bit though. But the fact is, even getting married, you need to incur a lot of costs. How much are you preparing for your wedding? Then what about the ring? What about the ceremony? What about it's just going to be a whole long list of things that requires expenses. So that leads to another discussion where the main expenses in life, right? Number one is your education, which is backed by your parents. So indirectly, after you graduate and you have your first job, the first thing you need to really spend a lot is your car. Then after you need to propose, which is marriage. Then to get a home, and moving into the home is another thing. So I think that's the main big spending that everyone needs to go through. But as the price of property is increasing, right, and the expectation of home somewhat is not tally lah. Then for the ladies, what's your thought on guys not being able to afford a property? Then they want to propose to you and they decide to take you as their wife, to marry you and stuff like that. I'm not sure at all, but based on the observations, I'm not very clear. I'm seriously not very clear. But what I'm seeing, that this is creating a lot of burden for the fellow men and fellow friends that I have lah. So all those are actually really very stressed up, right? And they're trying every might to save up for a property. It's best someone like landed lah, must have things and that. So in my opinion, property does signifies that the guy is mature, the guy is capable, the guy has security, and the guy can have the ability to take care of you for the rest of their lives lah. But in this current context, right, it's very rare that only one party of the husband and wife is working. Mostly now, right, for our generation, I think both party needs to work in order to afford, because if two fella get married, then both have cars, then both will have their parents to pay and etc. So you can see that the age of marriage is also increasing. I think 30 now, it's quite the norm. And that I don't have any like solid data. This is just for discussion. Then my main concern is my fellow friends, the guys, right, are actually getting themselves in huge debts just to get married. So there's been a lot of discussion about this, like you don't have to overspend on your wedding ring, you don't have to overspend on your wedding ceremony, because unfortunately the norm requires you to do so to show off and things like that. But what people don't cover is what kind of houses do you require. What I'm observing right now is, as a home, is not necessarily to buy your dream home as your first home. Many made that mistake, and that ends up in both parties, right, of the relationship, and have to pay for the house. Like a 800,000 landed property seems to be the standard, I think, at least for KL peeps lah. 800,000 will require around 4,000 monthly payment to the bank for the next 30 years, and that's only the housing installment. So if you think about it, right, let's say if you're 28, 29 or 32 and you are lucky AM, you're an assistant manager or a manager in MNC, you're getting around 5 to 6,000, or sometimes it's 4 to 5,000, I don't know. But it means also one party or one salary entirely is being used up for the installment. That puts the relationship into a very restrained mode, right? Because every penny counts. That's besides the furnishing, that's besides the maintenance, that's besides utility and etc. And living is also limited, because the couple just wants a landed house to be their home. To me, what's wrong with a studio, or what's wrong with a cheaper alternative? What I'm trying to imply right now is that a lot of Malaysians, not only Malaysians, a lot of youngsters now, they are buying houses where they don't really require that many rooms. Like for a terrace, right, generally there's like 4 rooms, 1 downstairs, 1 master bedroom, and 2 bedroom upstairs. So 4 bedrooms, right? How many do you actually use up, and why do you need a terrace house? If you can afford, by all means, of course, by all means. You want to buy bungalow, so I will congratulate you. But if you're on a budget, right, it's very difficult to say, but it's okay to rent a place, like in my opinion. I think there's no right or wrong approach to this. If you are fortunate enough to have support from your family, of course, a beautiful home to start your family is the best case scenario lah. But I guess the trouble is, again, warning, please do not share a property with your boyfriend or girlfriend. That is very important, as we mentioned, and I covered this many episodes already. Until you propose and she says yes, then maybe you guys can join name to get a house together. I think that's way more reasonable. And maybe this is just a discussion, and I'm no relationship expert, I'm no marriage expert. Coming from a sharing point of view, maybe you propose already, if you are for certain that she is the one, then you propose. Then 1 year, maybe you go and hunt for a home and you put both names together, because that's the only way you guys can get the loan. But again, please do not have your dream home as your first property. One side of the relationship is going to be just paying for the house installment, and that will create a lot of stress and putting a lot of straining. It's just a lot of burden to the relationship. And please be very realistic to the budget that you guys have. Don't give a crap about what people think, like, ayo, like that no money one also want to get married one, and things like that. So there's nothing wrong with staying in a house that is more modest and things like that, as long as it's yours. And I think there's nothing wrong with renting a home while you guys are saving up. It's early that you guys decided to be together and stuff like that. So I have no insight at all from the girl's side. So ladies, please do educate me, and please do put your opinion down below. I would really appreciate it. And I think that's all for this episode. I think this is like the most clueless episode that I'm doing lah. And I really think that's all. If you really like this podcast, like it, share it, and even subscribe for more information like this. Until next time, this is Sean Tan. Ciao.